All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Jim Boomer, CEO of Boomer Consulting, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, The Accounting Pipeline Shortage, Exploring Alternatives to Outsourcing. I'm joined here today by Chandu Nagarajan and Varun Jain. Welcome, Chandu and Varun. Great to have you. They're from Miles Talent Hub, and I'll introduce them in just a moment. So before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. First, we're offering CPE credit for today's webinar, so you'll need to participate in all three of the polling questions and complete the survey that we'll send out later today. Second, we are recording that will be sent out along with a copy of the slides after we're done. If you do need closed captioning, that feature is enabled, and you can just turn that on in your Zoom menu. And then finally, last item is we're happy to entertain questions. We have everyone in the audience muted, but simply use the Q&A feature in Zoom. We'll keep an eye on that. If it's relevant to the topic at hand, we'll address your question. If not, we'll have some time at the end. In the event we don't get to your question, we'll make sure somebody follows up with you after the conclusion of today's webinar. So I'm excited. Before we get started, just a few introductory thoughts on today's topic. You know, one of the biggest challenges and opportunities for firms in our profession is solving the capacity puzzle. And as you can see from the title of our webinar, that capacity puzzle is really being driven by an accounting shortage. So whether we are at our circle meetings, a consulting engagement, or really any other professional conference, finding enough quality talent to keep up with the firm's growth potential is consistently at the top of the discussion list. Unfortunately, there's not just a single silver bullet solution to the challenge, but what we're seeing with firms is they're addressing it from multiple fronts, including their traditional talent strategies, automation, AI, sourcing, focusing on right fit clients. But in today's webinar, you'll learn about another unique approach to solving the accounting pipeline challenges. And it's really gaining a lot of interest and a lot of traction in firms across the U.S. So I'm excited to intro and get started. But first, we're going to go ahead and kick things off with our first polling question. So if we want to go ahead and launch our first polling question, just a reminder for CPE purposes, we need you to answer all three of the questions. So first one, easy yes or no. Are you aware of the accountant shortage in the U.S.? We'll give you a little bit of time. We've got most people answering, but we have a few more outstanding. We'll give it another 5 seconds. All right, going once, going twice. All right, let's go ahead and close it out. So it looks like it's 100%. Everyone's aware. So that's good. We're starting off on level playing field. So now I'm going to introduce our speakers for today's webinar, Chandu and Varun. Chandu is a CPA with extensive experience, including a background in public accounting at PwC. He serves as the Senior Vice President at Miles Talent Hub. His dedication lies in building strong relationships with U.S. public accounting firms, state CPA societies, and global accounting alliances. Miles is leading the charge in tackling the U.S. accountant shortage through innovative STEM-driven solutions, such as the Miles U.S. Pathway, driving transformation in the field. And then we're also joined by Varun Jain, who is the co-founder and CEO of Miles Futurance, dedicated to empowering accountants and addressing the talent shortage. His pivotal role led to Miles' collaborations with over 15 U.S. universities, as well as esteemed partnerships with public accounting firms. Varun's earlier experience included roles at Deloitte and Morgan Stanley. He's a Harvard B School alum, and he's been recognized as Time's 40 Under 40, boasting more than 100 million YouTube views. He's indisputably one of the world's favorite CPA instructors. So delighted to have you both here. And with that, I'm going to kind of turn things over. I think, Varun, you're going to kind of kick us off. It's all yours.
Thank you so much, Jim, and to the entire team at Boomer Consulting. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. And very, very warm welcome to our session today, where we're going to be discussing an interesting approach to the accountant shortage. And I'm going to, given that all of you are already aware of it, I'm just going to spend another minute talking about the problem. There was a very interesting article in the Washington Post some time back. And this article was headlined, "The Accountant Shortage Threatens Capitalism's Future." So basically, all of us here in this session today have a big task at hand. We have to protect our economy, we have to protect capitalism, and we have some stats which are worrying. As per the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, America needs about 126,500 accountants and auditors every year, and less than 75,000 are graduating from universities, which means we already have a problem and it's expected to go worse, right? The delta of the shortage is expected to increase. Of course, there are a lot of solutions around this. We're trying to work on, automation, trying to sort of make accounting more exciting, outsourcing. So we're going to sort of put all of that together into perspective in the session. Miles Talent Hub is committed. We're working backwards from this problem statement. We have a bunch of solutions that are here. Today's session is focused on our priority number one solution, which is around the Miles US pathway, which is based around STEM. So really what we're doing here, right? So we're working with top US universities. The list includes universities like Michigan State University, Rutgers University, Case Western Reserve, DePaul, Delaware, Drexel, RIT, right? So universities, University of California, Riverside, universities across the country who are working on converting their graduate accounting programs into STEM. Really, why STEM is important here? Because number one, right? So when you're looking at the university enrollments, and if you've been in touch with universities, you would know that across universities, most of them are reporting a decline in accounting enrollments, both at the undergrad and grad levels. Now, one of the challenges is, the Gen Z today don't really find accounting to be as glamorous. And if I were to sort of put it in one word, they don't find accounting to be sexy, right? So it's like, a lot of hard work, maybe 150 credits, study for the CPA exam, very committed, dedicated jobs, not so exciting starting salaries. Of course, you make a lot of money as you get to the partner level, but not so exciting starting salary, work-life balance, and multiple pieces, right? So the question is, as we are converting accounting into STEM, that really helps sort of move in the direction of making accounting more attractive, more glamorous, more sexy. Though the STEM pathway, and I'm going to talk about international accountants, I'm going to give you, another example. So we also collaborated with, let's say, the University of South Florida, who converted their graduate accounting program into STEM. And the moment they did that, their enrollments multiplied by 3 times, and they had enough domestic enrollments which filled up their class. And they didn't partner with us on this pathway. But the point is, right, so that is basically thought leadership. How do you bring, and we always talk about AI. I mean, of course, AI is a big word, but let's say data analytics, right? Accounting information systems, right? So all of those are an integral part of accounting education. There are bills with the Congress where they're trying to convert all of accounting into STEM, because today accounting is more a technology profession, but there's still a lot of runway before we get there. So what we're doing at this point is trying to move around graduate accounting curriculums where it now becomes an MS in accounting and analytics. And the moment that happens, right? So number one, accounting becomes more glamorous. Number two, this allows international accountants to come into the US, to these top US universities, and graduate from these programs and be eligible for a 3-year work permit. It's called OPT, a 3-year work permit on their student visa. Now, this is something which is new for accounting, but this is not new in the overall scheme of things. This is a model which has been used by technology companies for decades, right? This has been around where you have hundreds of thousands of engineers, right, from around the world, including India, who've come into the US, done these programs, eligible for a 3-year OPD. And then, of course, a lot of them got H-1Bs and green cards and stayed back. Many went back to India or wherever they come from. And you would see a lot of, let's say, Indian or international talent in the tech industry, right? The CEO of Google today is an Indian, grad who came to the US. The CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, is again of Indian origin, graduated in India. So you have a lot of, and these are not just at CEO levels. You'll see a lot of them at mid leadership levels, mid manager levels, and so on and so forth. We don't see that in accounting because accounting was never STEM and this pathway was never there. Now, this has been a revolutionary, a very, very innovative pathway, which now allows international accountants to come in. So this is conceptually good. Now, the question is this at scale? So from a Miles perspective, we have about more than 1,200 candidates who are coming in, who are available, pretty large talent pool. This number would increase as we go along. We're looking at like 3,000 or 5,000, maybe 10,000. So we have large North Star numbers, but it's already a very, very large pool, which can solve capacity for a lot of firms. And I'm going to talk more about this. Now, we are trying to tackle the accounting shortage in multiple ways. This session is around the STEM pathway, but let's say last week we rolled out a very interesting Bridge to CPA program with Franklin University. And this is an online program. This is focused for domestic accountants, for US accountants who are trying to get to CPA, and 150 credit is a barrier. They can now earn the extra 30 credits at just $99 per credit, right? So this is, and CPA review is free, it's complimentary again. And this is again for firms to sponsor and sort of become employer of choice for a lot of domestic talent pool. We sort of trying to roll out Miles masterclasses, so multiple pieces, but I'm going to now get started with a focus, which is accounting, leveraging STEM to solve for the accounting shortage, where you don't really need to outsource work. You'll have international accountants coming in, working with you in your US office for at least 3 years. Now, sort of taking a step back here and talking about outsourcing, and and I'm going to sort of use India as a case here because India sort of stands out as the mothership for outsourcing, right? Huge amount of outsourcing which happens to India. It started off as offshoring technically, right? So you had Deloitte, which was one of the front runners, and all of the big four. They've set up huge offshore centers where they set up extended office for Deloitte. I remember, a couple of decades back, it was called R10, Region 10, right? So it was like an extended place where they had talent coming in and they had their own office. And they've, of course, matured it out. Now, the challenge with this model for a lot of mid-tier public accounting firms, right? You have like 30 people, 50 people, 100 or 200 people in the US, you don't have the scale to build up your own office there. You typically rely on third parties. Now, the moment you work through third-party outsourcing companies, and challenge number one, the concern number one is there's confidential client data which you're sharing to these firms. You're trying to do tax returns and you have those 7216s that you need to do, right? And then the big question here is the quality of the talent pool. And again, some firms have seen successes, but there have been a lot of challenges, right? Especially because of the talent pool. Now, if you talk about India as a case here, there's a talent war going on, right? Anybody in India who understands US audit or US tax very well has multiple offers and job opportunities. Deloitte is trying to hire, EY is trying to hire, KPMG, and they're all looking at those experienced talent. So the challenge for these third-party companies, outsourcing companies, is they are not employer brands on their own. And for them to retain talent is not easy. So you may have an outsourcing company and you may have somebody working in that company, but you never know how long the talent is going to stay. So there are multiple challenges around this. And I'm not saying it's a bad model, it's a good model, but what we have here is a complement, is a substitute and a complement. And I'll tell you why this is a substitute and a complement, but let me start with the substitute piece first, right? So now you're having talent coming and working with you in your US office. So essentially what we've done as Miles is we've used the tech playbook to solve for the accounting shortage, right? We've converted accounting into STEM. This allows accountants, especially from India, to work in the US for 3 years without any visa sponsorship, exactly like the engineers. And what that means is you have a ready to hire curated talent pool of more than 1,200 accountants. And guys, this is not fresh, undergrads or grads from universities. The average experience that these accountants have is north of 3 years, right? So they've already worked in India. Let's say they would have worked with a big four or a public accounting firm in India on US audit or tax, or they may have worked with a public accounting firm which is focused on Indian clients, and they're coming in with experience here, to the US. They're leaving their job, taking the Miles pathway, and enrolling at these top universities, taking up a student loan because they're excited about what we call the great American dream, right? So they want to come in here and work with you. This is not outsourcing. This is not offshoring. These are accountants who are getting out of their comfort zone, and they were really committed while they were in India. But now that they're coming, they're out of their comfort zone. They're hungry to prove themselves in a foreign country and live that great dream. The incidental benefits, like, because you're going to be hiring them while they're going to be on their student visa, there are no FICA taxes. So there's, of course, some savings that you have. But I think the big deal is the quantity and the quality of the talent pool, which will help you sort of build up on top of your domestic resources, right? Make sure you're, if you're understaffed, you move into a position where you're suitably staffed or maybe slightly overstaffed, right? And, make sure you deliver the best value to your clients while maintaining work-life balance and everything else for your team. Now, the key stakeholders in the Miles STEM pathway is, number one, the public accounting firms, who are facing accountant shortage, need talent. The second is universities who have empty seats and they're really worried, what do they do with that? And now they have this new wave of accounting talent coming in. And of course, we spoke about the Indian accountants who are ambitious, who are committed, who are excited about the American dream. Now, this is a very interesting slide. This is how it looks, right? So you hire, the talent pool at time T. Before that, they've already completed their graduation from a US university. For 3 years, they can work in your US office, no visa sponsorship, no formalities, right? So, and these are experienced accountants who have either, passed their CPA or have a CPA license. Some of them are on the way to the CPA. Everybody's on a CPA track here. And then, beyond 3 years, what happens, right? So you have two plans. Plan A, right? Beyond 3 years, you have these folks going back to, let's say, India and, joining your offshore centers or building your offshore centers for that matter. These are folks who would have worked in your US office for 3 years. They understand your clients, they understand your firm, they've worked with with various colleagues. They're sort of an integral part of your culture. This is like outsourcing reimagined, right? Or outsourcing 2.0, right? Where you're not working with somebody whom you don't know. You're working with somebody who's been with you in your US office. And it's not technically outsourcing, it's actually a remote work, if I may put it like that. And of course, you have a second option where you can nominate them for the H-1B lottery. It's a very simple process. And if they get selected in the lottery, of course, a few $1,000s, and they are like, they can stay here for another 6 years and work for US office. So you have both the options. But the big deal is that 3-year, I would say, is the piece where they become part of your firm and you're having all of these experienced accountants coming in. Now, this is sort of, a little bit of an education. Everybody knows about accounting and tech, right? So data analytics, accounting information systems, and all of that. And this is what universities are very excited about. I would say this is like the magic or the innovation in the solution, where it's sort of upping the game for the profession while solving for the accounting pipeline issue that we are facing. And we've spoken about this no visa sponsorship. Because they're on student F1 visa, it's typically the student and the university responsibility to take care of the paperwork. You just need to have some training program. It's hardly anything for the firms. You already have that in place in most cases. Now, the size of the talent pool here, right? So we have the first large, this year, we have a talent pool of more than 200 who have already graduated, who already have, nearly all of them have jobs. You have additional talent pools coming in who are available to join end of the year or mid next year. And this is a large pool. And we are working with a lot of CPA firm alliances. So you see BDO Alliance, Alenial Global, RSM, Moore, GGI, Prime Global, MGI, LEA. A lot of state CPA societies are excited about this, about a solution. They're patronizing it, right from Cal CPA, Florida, Indiana, Massachusetts, Nebraska, Ohio, Texas, Virginia, societies across the country, very excited about, what we're doing. Two reasons for the excitement. Number one, of course, is, one of the potential solutions to the accounting pipeline shortage. And the second, moving in a direction where accounting is becoming STEM. So as Miles, just to give you a little bit of a background, we actually started off as a CPA review back in India in 2011. And we train, more than 9,000 candidates every year for the CPA program in India, who are trying to become CPAs, work for those public accounting firms who have offshore centers, even outsourcing companies. So we've been doing a lot of CPA review for Indian accountants to work in the US. Essentially, for us, this is like a forward integration where those accountants also have the opportunity of coming in the US and working with you in your US office. And the offshore model typically works with the big fours and the larger companies, but when we speak to a lot of mid-tier public accounting firms, more excited about having talent in the US office makes far more economic sense, and it also allows them to be a part of your firm culture because I think that's the strength that we see with public accounting firms across the country. Again, a few case studies here. So this is a large list, but let's focus on a few of them. The first one, right, is RSM. So when we first approached RSM with the solution, their immediate response in one phrase was, "This is too good to be true." And then we said on that same call, "No, this is too good and true." And fast forward, RSM has hired more than 50 accountants across 15 locations, right? So they love the solution, they've built it up. So they're one of our larger clients who've really patronized this, who love this, and they want to scale this up to big numbers in the coming years. But I'm also going to talk about a lot of other firms. Let's say, this one's a very interesting case study. I don't know how many of you in the audience know that there's a place called Baraboo, right? It's a town, it's a city in Wisconsin. And we have MBE CPAs, a 200 people firm based out of Baraboo in Wisconsin, who've actually hired 10 accountants. So today I'm in San Diego in a conference hosted by Accounting Today. And just some time back, I did a session with Tim on the stage where he spoke about how excited he's about the solution and that he's hired 10 of these accountants. Now, on this slide, I also wanted to show the quality of the talent pool. So if you see, right, these accountants are graduating from different universities. So you have, let's say, the first candidate, Aman, he's graduated from Clark University, Amruta from Drexel, Anjali from Michigan State, Disha from Case Western Reserve University. You have Mustafa, from University of Delaware, right? So you have all these accountants graduating from different universities converging into your US office. Very interestingly, all of these accountants have a lot of experience. So if I look at the range of experience that I have on the slide, it sort of ranges from, let's say, 4.8 years to as high as 21 years, right? So you're not talking about fresh undergrads. You're talking about exactly the talent pool that you need. And they're still joining you as staff. They may have very steep career paths, but they're joining you at staff level with experience. They may not have US client-facing experience. They may have worked in outsourcing centers or offshore centers in India. So if you see, the folks that Tim picked up, a lot of them have Big Four experience. You'd see a lot of ex-Deloitte, ex-Accenture, ex-banking. So multiple, very, very rich experience. So you have high quality accounting talent pool coming in who are joining you, who would, and these candidates, they've also pursued, right? So before they join you, they're already acclimatized into the US culture. They've already studied, they've graduated from a top university on a top program, and they're ready to work with you, with your team. And in many cases, you would see this would actually sort of increase the overall, effectiveness and efficiency of your staff, right? These are hungry accountants, hardworking, eager to prove themselves. And, the firms that have hired them have some really amazing feedback. I mean, you can reach out to Tim and he's one of the brand ambassadors, but I'm going to quickly move on now. And I'm going to let Chandu take over, the rest of the case studies. And again, what we're trying to showcase here. Yep.
Real quick, just I'm going to butt in with, those darn polling questions we got to do. So we're due up for number 2. So if we want to go ahead and launch polling question number 2, and then Chandu, I'll hand it back to you. So the second question, more specific to you, is your firm facing the accounting shortage? So we established that 100% of those joining us were aware of the accounting shortage, but how does that apply to you? So just as a reminder, for CPE purposes, we need you to answer all 3 questions. We'll give you a little bit more time to get your answers in. All right, going once, going twice. All right, let's share the results. So the majority are definitely having a challenge with the accounting shortage. There's several that say no, though, too. So um, interesting results. But as I said in my opening comments, it's pretty pervasive in the conversations that we're involved in, that this is one of the big challenges that firms are facing today. So sorry to interrupt. Chandu, back to you.
Not at all. Thanks for facilitating the polling questions. They're very important for the CPE. Thank you, Jim. So, very good morning to one and all here. Chandu here. A quick look at the case studies from where Varun left. So, as you would have realized, we work not as vendors, but we are strategic partners with top alliances and with very many societies across the US. So, naming a few of them, one being Video Alliance. We work with RSM Alliance, Prime Global, LEA, Moore North America, GGI, and we are almost there with over 10 alliances, not as just vendors, but hand in hand as strategic partners to solve this important problem for firms such as you all. Now, coming to this case study, it's an extension to what you saw with the RSM case study, as well as the previous slide, which talked about MBE, which is an RSM US Alliance case study, right? So video, we have been able to get in. This is not an exhaustive list, just a limited number of firms that we could bring in to make it as graphic as possible. You see again the experience of these candidates. But what I want to bring your attention to is more important, not just about the candidates' profiles, candidates' backgrounds, but also look at the locations, right? Just like how Baraboo in Wisconsin may not be the most populous town, most famous town, but today we are able to solve that problem. If you look at Booz and Associates, a top video alliance firm, they are in California, but they're not in the Bay Area. They're not in the most known places. They are in a place called Fresno. Maryland, looking at it, not Baltimore, but it's Owing Mills. Of course, Pittsburgh, known place. And, Traverse City, Michigan, not a Detroit, not Great Lakes. And all our candidates are super excited in spite of their work experience, or if they are green candidates, they all go in at staff and at preparer levels. And one important piece as we transition to the next slide is that we brought in 221 candidates in August 2023 last year, and they're all graduating in May. And we have found jobs for them across firms for about 180 candidates. And today we are sitting with about 40 candidates ready to be interviewed and haven't gotten the opportunity to get interviewed by firms like you. So I wish that if you're interested, we should get on a call, and we are more than happy to showcase you all those resumes. Moving forward, is there access, how I can move? Thank you. So Allineal Global, the second largest accounting association in the world, and in the US, the third largest or fourth largest. And these are all the various firms we are working with. Again, not an exhaustive list. We are working with close to about 9 or 10 firms there. And these are, look at the locations, Missouri, Columbia, Minneapolis. We don't have a university partnership anywhere at Minneapolis yet. And I'm just saying yet because we know we are going to be there as well very soon. But as yet, no university partnership there. But our candidates from the East Zone or from the West universities are all very excited to move in, relocation at their cost, and they're going to be working for SDK. And ATKG, San Antonio, again, DG Perry, one of the top 100 accounting firms, top IPA 100, and not in Columbus, but Youngstown in Ohio. And Pennsylvania, not Pittsburgh, but Erie. And there are 3 other locations where the recruitment is in process with these firms. So you get the message, right? Our candidates are location agnostic, and our candidates are also size agnostic. So coming to Prime Global, as I was mentioning, these are Sikich, you would all know. They are top 30 IPA firms, but not to say that our candidates are only looking at top 30 or top 100. You will also find a lot of non-IPA firms where our candidates have gotten jobs and they're happy to get relocated to. Hogan Taylor is one, Prime Global, but I must thank Jim Boomer and the Boomer team for facilitating that platform where we were able to get connected with Hogan Taylor. And the moment we met with the CHRO, Shannon there, she was immediately embracing the solution, and she took us to the leadership there, and we got just 2 that you're seeing on the slide, but we're working The work in progress is right now underway to get more candidates hired for them. So this is again an IPA 100 firm, IPA 89th rank. Look at the location, Tulsa and Little Rock, not the Oklahoma city of Oklahoma. So I think the point is our candidates are humble, grounded, aspiring to prove work. In India, you should also know, as few of you may be aware already who are working in the outsourcing space, the work culture there is not really 5 days work and not really work by the clock, 8 or 9 hours. They slog it out. They work on Saturdays as well. So it's a 6-day work culture there. And they put in minimum 11 to 12 hours, even on non-season. So if seasonal demands arise, they are not going to be the set of people who will tell you they cannot work. They will be happy to, burn the midnight oil there. Moving forward, there are a few next steps. So to understand the next steps here, right, I would again like to touch upon the cost benefit for you here. So you would have realized we are adding value in a lot of, in this process. We are adding value in this entire stage where we curate talent based on their communication skills and their experience. We are also bringing in green candidates where we have a parameter to evaluate their language, their spoken English, written English, and their academic credentials for the green candidates. Now, once we've curated, we bring them, we facilitate them with the visa and the US university admission process, and then help them with cross-culture training, and then move them to your firms after networking through various platforms. All this involves time, effort, and some cost. Of course, you would realize that, but we do not charge a placement fee as high as a typical staffing firm would do. We only charge 15%, whereas the staffing firms that I'm sure you're working with a few of them, they charge about 25 to 30%. So look at our cost. It's 15% not recurring, 15% only on the candidate's first year's salary. Now, coming to the FICA tax that Varun talked about as an incidental benefit, I want to just stitch that point to this, placement fees that we are charging. If you look at your year-on-year FICA savings, it's 7.65% that you save as your FICA payroll tax is exempt by hiring candidates that have international STEM OPT visa for the 3 years. Now, let's do a simple math. 7.65% times 3 leads you to a savings of 22.95%. For mathematics calculation. We'll just keep it 23% of savings across the 3 years. Now, what is our placement fee? 15%. So your savings is 23 and your cash outflow to us is going to be 15%, which leaves you with a pocketed savings of about 8%, which is your straight ROI. And if you were to look at it in dollar terms, that savings of 8% would translate to, loosely put, $5,000 to $5,500. Now, how is this $5,500 going to be used? You either save them and do not have to do H-1B, or you are at choice to retain these candidates by applying for their H-1B sponsorship, and you could use $4,500 to $5,000 out of the $5,500 that you save for your H-1B visa sponsorship, and that's the cost. And I think you have a very large pool coming in as well. So up for grabs. With this, I hand this back to Varun and Jim, and any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you. Thank you, Chandu. Jim, I have like a couple of more slides. You want me to complete them and then take up the questions?
Well, I think the last one, we're just going to leave up, so we can go ahead and the last question, polling question, we can go ahead and fire it up, and then you can continue on. So, would you like someone from the Miles team to reach out with more information post webinar? So we'll just leave that one open, and Varun, you can continue on.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. So we have a large team, based in the US. All of these folks are here, and so they're sort of working across various regions, and very, very, very reachable. And we don't really evangelize this and scale this up. We see a lot of early wins, with firms, with societies and alliances, and we are excited about solving the talent shortage that every or most of the CPA firms across the US are facing today. Just moving on, just before we open up for questions, just to tell you, right, from a Miles perspective, we are trying to tackle the accountant shortage head on. right? The STEM pathway, of course, is the primary solution. That's the agenda for this session today. But just to give you an example, another example of what we've done is try to solve this problem even for domestic candidates, right? So if you have domestic staff, whom you're hiring, and you really want them to earn their CPA, so we have a bridge to CPA program where they don't really have to pay for university tuition and those tens of thousands of dollars. The 120 to 150, the 30 credit gap can be filled in less than $3,000, and CPA review is free. So something which typically costs $15,000 or more is now less than $3,000, and you can easily sponsor this for your staff talent. This is for domestic American talent, right? So again, the 150 credit does not look like a big barrier anymore. It's aligned to CPA, so it becomes faster and much cheaper. It's more like a micro credential program by Franklin University integrated with the CPA review program. Again, not getting to details, but I would say I would sort of stop with the message or pause with the message that we got to expand the accounting pipeline. There are multiple ways of doing that, and we are better off, stronger together. So thank you so much, Jim. Any questions that we have, we can take those up. You can.
Yeah, I'll remind our audience, as I said in the open, this is a unique approach to addressing this challenge around a shortage. So if you have questions on the solution, how it all works, timelines, anything that Varun and Chandu have shared, certainly pop those into the Q&A area. I know you guys have been at a few of our circle meetings already, and I think you alluded to this, Chandu, but the interest level has been high because it is certainly an area that a lot of firms are challenged in and focused in, and trying to figure out new and innovative solutions. So I am not seeing any. Oh, here we go. We've got one. How long does it take to get someone hired and started with the firm?
Okay, so
Varun, would you like me to take this?
Yeah, Chandu, yes.
Okay. So thank you for that question. So we have two pools, right? One came in every year. We are going to have a fall intake as well as a spring intake. When I say fall, I mean August candidates come in, and within 10 months, they complete their program. And by June, they are ready to start with your firm. And during this period between August and June, they're going to be attending interviews with you all. Typically, firms conduct 2 rounds of virtual interviews, and then we come back with the offer acceptances. We coordinate the offer acceptance release process for you. And beyond that, we also do something I missed mentioning, is something called a background verification check. We conduct the background verification check from India, which checks for national identity, their highest qualification held, claimed on their resumes, as well as their last employment held. So these are 3 things that the background verification also can cover. And that is given to you, and then the OPT card arrives with the candidate. You have no responsibility on their visa for the first 3 years, and you could have them join. And the next pool that comes in spring, they join in, they relocate into the US in January, they start their program in January, finish the program by December, and will be ready to join your firms from January of the subsequent year, which is aligning perfectly with your audit and tax seasons. And if you're asking me about the interview process, right now for the 40 candidates, they're completing their graduation this month, and they are ready to be interviewed, I would say not tomorrow, day before yesterday. So they're all ready. You could interview them. If you reach out to us, I can put you in touch with the right teams. They will immediately take you on a 30-minute call called a show and tell call. We will walk you through the profiles, and you could go ahead and get the interviews done. And interviewing, scheduling responsibilities for the interview, also we do handhold there. You have no responsibilities towards coordinating. It's a one-stop shop. You come to us and we will ensure, right from curating, walking you through the profiles, to interview process, interview scheduling, offer release, offer acceptance, and then finally with your onboarding, we will keep doing monthly check-ins. That is the process in itself.
Just to add on this, so if you this slide basically, you've May of 2024, you've more than 200 candidates, as Chandu said, about 40 of them are available. You have December 2024, again 200 plus candidates. A lot of them already have job offers received, but the majority of them were available. And then of course next summer you have a very large pool which is coming up. Of course, every candidate only gets one offer. So the moment they are accepted by your firm, they're going to be, of course, not doing any other interviews and all of that. So it's typically first come, first served in a lot of ways. So, the firms who come in earlier slightly have wider access than the others. But yeah, so the deal is at this point, if you were to hire, you can get people joining in for your, immediate joiners, or just before your busy season 2025, or mid 2025, which is a more medium to long term strategy. So there are multiple pools available here.
Okay. Yeah, if there's any other questions, submit them. But I did, Chandu, as you were answering, it made me think of one, and I think you kind of touched upon it, but I think about the numbers you're showing here of how the candidate pool. And having been through hiring processes, some of the biggest challenges is just filtering through. So is that also part of the handholding and process? I think you used the word curated, but are you doing the matching with the firm's needs and the skill set and experience of the candidates?
Absolutely, Jim. Thanks for that. So we should have mentioned that before. So when I said curating, there are two forms of curating. One, we only bring in a relevant talent pool that is relevant to accounting, audit, and tax to the US in the first place. And then when you're talking about curating the pool for the firms, we get on a call with the firm over a 30 to 45 minutes Zoom call. We walk them through each and every candidate in the line of interest for the line of service for the firm that they would have a requirement in. And if it's an accounting candidate, whether it's a US GAAP experienced candidate, or if it's an Indian accounting experienced candidate, all of this is discussed with them, because firms have an India operation as well as a US operation. So we cater to all that needs. And if it's a tax, we tell them this candidate may have a CCH experience. And if it's an accounting bookkeeping candidate or a CAS candidate, we tell them if the candidates actually have a QuickBook audit software experience. All of this is built into when we say we tailor, we do the matchmaking between the candidate as well as the firm. It is taken care of at that level of detail.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, I am not seeing any additional questions. I know we will send a follow-up email as well that will have contact information. So if you hop off of here today to our audience and you think of, I wish I would have asked that question, you will have a way to get your questions answered. So I think I'll go ahead and close us out. I want to say thank you, Miles, Talent Hub, for sponsoring today's webinar, and thank you, Varun and Chandu. Great overview of, I've said it a few times, but again, a very unique approach that I'm sure everyone would agree that we learned something today. So last thank you. I started with a thank you to our audience. I want to say it again. We appreciate you spending a little time with us today, and we look forward to seeing you on a future Boomer Consulting webinar. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And in the event, before I conclude, if you wish to take references from clients within the Boomer circle that you want to pick up references from, please feel free to reach out to Shannon of Hogan Taylor. She's the CHRO there. And you could also reach out to Hannah Baldwin of Smith Marion. That is one more Boomer consulting firm. And they would be most happy because they've hired 3 to 5 candidates. Similar story with Hogan Taylor. With that, thank you so very much. Gratitude to all for attending the webinar. Reach out to us. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you, Jim. Thank you so very much.